Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all my blessed beloveds out there in video land. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty, and I'm Rusty. And I smell like mint, lavender, and tangerine because I've been playing with my oils. More information below if you have any interest in doTERRA. I live for it and buy it, and it's part of my holistic approach. Anyway, so it's another day of interviewing and finding out the who's, what's, and whys of somebody else. And I want to say, I've had so many shows today. Let me see. We have Juli Realy today. And I'm super excited to learn more about Juli. She has definitely had a rough start to life, and I'm going to leave it there, and she's going to tell you all about it. Juli is now logging in, and she's going to tell us who she is, what she does, and what makes her her. And I'm going to just have my Lion King moment here with all this humidity. Yeah, excitement. She'll be on any second now. Technology is really a beautiful thing. You can go all over the world with an instant, but when you're trying to log into one of these Zoom or Google or Skype, it takes forever to log in. So Juli, who are you? What do you do? And what makes you you?
Ooh, that's a lot of questions all at once.
No pressure.
Well, I'm just an ordinary person like everybody else.
No, you're not. There's something ooey gooey about you on the inside. I'm going to get it out.
Well, there's something ooey gooey about every single person on the inside. And yeah, you probably will get it out. And I do everything I can to make it the best day of my life every single day. And I work as a sound healer, and I work as a happy for no reason trainer and coach. And I also believe that creative self-expression is a big part of healing and happiness. And I facilitate some creative activities through drumming and introspective art events.
My kind of gal. What state are you in?
I'm in Illinois.
Ooh, Chicago. Yeah. I know Chicago very well. I used to do a lot of trade shows, and I was there during 9/11.
Yep, I'm an hour west.
Yep.
So I've got the benefit of the city, but I don't have to live with it.
Right. That's the lovely part. I have the benefit of cities too, but I'm like about an hour and 15 minutes away from most major cities here in Florida.
You're in Florida?
So, yeah. I'm right on the Gulf Coast, but to get to Miami, it's about 2 hours. Orlando's about 2 hours. Tampa's about an hour and 15. So, you know, kind of in that central location where if I wanted to go and do something like that.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. But I don't have the pollution and the bad driving. Oh, wait, the bad driving, yes. There's tons of bad drivers down here.
Yeah, at one point in my life, I wanted to move so bad. My family moved to Florida, and I don't like the cold weather. And my body was getting arthritic and achy, and I wanted to move so bad that I decided I could not be happy living in Illinois.
Wow, that's a big commitment.
I made myself miserable.
Yeah.
It was completely self-induced.
Yep.
I was doing it as a form of emotional manipulation to try to convince my husband that we should move. I did not do it on purpose. I did not realize that I was victimizing myself and destroying my own life. I did not realize I was emotionally manipulating my husband. That's all stuff that I've just come into realization recently.
Wow. Yeah, that's some heavy hitting stuff, because I'm of the philosophy that no matter where you are, you can find happiness.
Absolutely.
I'm not a snow person, and I was recently diagnosed with Raynaud's. So as you can imagine, the cold really hurts, like really hurts. But pretty much anywhere I go, I can find happiness.
I learned that.
Yeah, That's
It took
tough.
took
You
me a
were
long
hard on
time.
yourself.
I took it, you know what? I almost died on the way to learning that.
Wow.
But my illness is what opened the door to my transformation
Mm.
and allowed me to learn those beautiful lessons.
Yeah, you had a little bit of a rough ride. I saw.
Yeah, and I see you coach people for celiac, and I actually was ill with my digestive system, severely ill, and the doctors weren't helping me. Like they wouldn't even do stool samples. I was overridden with 4 parasites. They destroyed my digestive system. I had leaky gut,
Yeah.
and
And that surprises me because the University of Chicago, their celiac center is like amazing. I'm
well,
so shocked.
I was at Northwestern, and but it's on beyond. Like I'm not diagnosed with celiac disease, but I am grain intolerant.
Ooh.
And I had to go through 5 different diets. Like it took me over a year, elimination diets that I did on my own to discover what foods I could tolerate and eat. I had gone from 145 pounds to 93 pounds. I was emaciated. And then I had an injury and was in a wheelchair. And that's when my body shut down, is that lack of activity and movement completely started shutting down my organs. And that's when I wanted to die
Yeah.
and had the depression and the anxiety and everything. But I was very, very fortunate. I had some loving people that encouraged me to move forward with therapy, somatic experience and touch therapy, which was very powerful for me. That served me much better than talk therapy. And restorative yoga. And that opened up a portal to a whole nother world for me, because that led me into breath work. That led me into meditation. And then I discovered the Happy for No Reason program, which is a wonderful program. And it defines happiness as that inner state of peace and calm, regardless of your circumstances.
Truth.
And it sets itself up with the metaphor that we're building an inner home for happiness, and that we have to have strong support pillars. So it categorizes different things into different support pillars. The first one's the foundation. The next one is the mind. The next one is the heart. Then there's the soul. And then, and then there's the roof, which is living a life of purpose. And then there's the garden, which is cultivating, nourishing relationships. So it's just a really great program, and it's got about 21 different practices. And they're not all developed by the author, who is Marcy Shimoff. She's taken practices from other people with permission and included them in her book. But what's interesting is by the time I found the program, I had already done half of the practices in the book.
Good for you.
And I just went crazy because it so resonated with me. And so I just sucked up the whole thing. And then I decided, you know what, this is it. I got into Globe Sound Healing, had a annual summit they do, the annual Globe Sound Healing Summit. And that was a wonderful experience for me. And that's what turned me on to sound healing. So I work with sound and vibration, and I've learned how to do tuning fork therapy, and actually all those things. The restorative yoga. It took me 2 years to figure out how to breathe into my back. It took me 2 years to figure out what surrender is.
That's really hard, especially when you're coming from a trauma place.
Well, because I wanted to die. So then I finally decided, no, I'm going to try to fix myself. Okay. And my yoga instructor would always talk about, she always did little workshops and stuff. And she always talked about surrendering and how I need to surrender, and that I'm resistance. And I'm like, you know what? To me, surrender was giving up the fight. I just decided to fight for my life again. I wasn't ready to surrender and give up my fight. But it took me a long time to realize it's not giving up the fight. It's really making friends with your environment and circumstances, and allowing the potentials and possibilities of the moment to lift us up and release us, you know, and make us free.
So let's backtrack a little bit and talk about your accident. What happened?
Well, I was down to 93 pounds. I was emaciated. I was ill. I really had a hard time leaving the house until later in the day because of medication they put me on. But it snowed, and I do love cross-country skiing. So my skis were calling to me, and I'm like, oh, you really shouldn't go. And like, I just went to the forest preserve. It wasn't like a cross-country ski trail that was groomed and manicured. But the forest preserve is only a few minutes from my house, and I decided to go cross-country skiing. And I, you know, started off, and it felt so good to move, you know, just that nice, easy. It's so quiet. It's so meditative, you know, in the forest. And I came to the first loop that went back. And I'm like, okay, you should go back, Julie. This was beautiful. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful out. I don't want it to end. I don't want to go back. And I start moving on. And a little voice in my head says, you know, Julie, well, actually, it was a little pain in my joint where my leg connected to my hip. Well, every time I took a stride, this my body's wisdom was speaking to me, and I wasn't listening.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
I know. And so I went to do the big loop, and that's fine. It was beautiful. I loved it. I did the big loop, but I really got tired, and I really realized that I was pushing it too far. I made it back. Oh man, I was maybe 200 yards from the parking lot, and my ski got tangled up in a bush and yanked behind me, and my leg torqued out, and I fell. Somehow it's funny because I seem to remember falling on my right side, but I got an egg on the left side of my head. I don't remember hitting my head. I felt my ankle break. I knew my ankle fractured. It wasn't a question mark. And I tore the labrum in my hip. Mm-hmm. And so I got up and, you know, took my skis off and hobbled back to the car. Thank God I was almost at the parking lot. And I had my, you know, poles and skis for support. So I hobbled back to the car and, you know, drove myself into like an emergency care to get x-rayed. So yeah, that basically at that point I was waiting for shoulder surgery, which they couldn't clear me for because I was too emaciated and wouldn't pass the tests to clear for surgery. And then my ankle was fractured, and they didn't discover my torn labrum until they finally put the cast on, and they put the real heavy old-fashioned plaster cast on my leg. So every time I like tried to lift my thigh to move my leg, I would get excruciating pain from having that weight on. That's what revealed the torn labrum. And of course the doctors argued with me that there was nothing wrong and it was all in my head, but I heard that a lot from a lot of doctors. I had some very, very difficult treatment experiences with the medical field, and I had developed really a lot of anger and resentment.
I think it's really easy to lose compassion for doctors. And I try very hard because I too have not had the best run-in with doctors. And I try very hard to remain as compassionate as possible because they don't know everything. And unfortunately, the pressures behind the scene make them hurry through things without really taking a good look. And I'm not saying all doctors are like that, but more and more so because it's for profit. I know down here in Florida, the groups, nameless, but everybody down here knows who I'm talking about. They literally want you to be seen 15 minutes and then out the door. Mm-hmm. And that's not good medicine. That's not a way to allow the doctor to do what the doctor is trained to do. nor is it enough time for people to have a decent relationship with your doctor. And that's kind of a private thing. Like, you don't want to have a 15-minute marriage, you know?
Right.
But
Right.
it's kind of, it's that close relationship, because you have to trust the doctor, and the doctor has to, you
Yeah.
know, be
Yeah.
able to put pieces together like detectives. And so I get the anger, and that's a lot of healing to do, but how frustrating it must have been with the cast. And the emaciation, was that self-induced, or that was just the parasites?
What was self-induced? What the
Was
question?
the emaciation self-induced, or was that the parasite?
No, that was the parasites.
How did you get, like, was it in the water? Did you go swimming?
Uh,
Do you know?
who knows? Nobody really knows. It was a variety of different bugs. But I mean, I had gone to Mexico and I got ill while I was in Mexico, and I was hospitalized for 5 days in Mexico.
Oof.
And that started my decline.
Yeah.
But I had experienced Giardia parasite when I was in my 20s.
Wow.
And they had a hard time getting rid of it. I had it for over 2 years. And it did damage my digestive system a little bit, so it left me vulnerable. But the good news is I overcame all that anger and resentment, and I do have a different window into my picture of doctors. And I realized that the doctors are only trained, like the medical doctors are trained in a certain way. And I had to actually switch to functional medicine, and I could see how different the training is for the functional medicine doctors.
Yeah.
And we really need both types of doctors.
Agreed.
But I agree with you that the politics behind the medical world are making it really difficult for the doctors to develop that quality relationship with their clients. So you have to really search to find the doctors who will try to do that.
I think it's really, 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 really important to understand the placement of things. So I am very big on holistic health and Eastern medicine up to a certain point. You know, CAT scans can be necessary, blood tests can be necessary, pharmaceuticals at some places
sometimes are necessary.
necessary.
Absolutely.
But it shouldn't be the first thing you go to. I mean, most of the time, a little Imodium AD will get you moving if you need to be moving, if you know what I mean. You know, there's natural ways of taking care of yourself, and we've lost the magic with that understanding. So it's really nice to hear that you're circling around in your own journey and relearning that magic, because sound healing is one of my favorite things on the planet. And the first time one of my friends started doing the tuning forks, I was her guinea pig. And so and she does the aromatherapy touch something through Young Living. And so I'm all relaxed and like oiled up and fantastic feeling. And she does the forks on my feet and my ears, they were wiggling. It was the funniest thing. I laughed.
Oh, yeah. The vibrations go all the way through your body, and you don't know where you're going to feel it, even though it's on a different part of your body. And it's funny because the system that I use is called Acutonics, and it's based on traditional Chinese medicine. So we're actually placing the tuning forks on acupuncture points and meridians, as well as working in the ethereal body, off the body, above the body, in the energy field. But you know, sometimes I'll be working on a certain acupuncture point and people say, yeah, but my pain is over here. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, everything's connected and everything's got a flow and whatnot. So yeah, it was the meditation, very powerful. Actually, meditation is, I have to say, that's one of the ways that really helped me release a lot of the anger and negative emotions that I experienced. I actually tapped into Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself meditation. And it's an intense meditation. You know, you got to declare your emotion that you want to, or habit that you want to break. And then it takes a month every day of daily meditation to break that habit. But like, I had it so deeply that I had to do some of my emotions like 2 or 3 months in a row, you know, or like switch to a different one. And then I'd find, no, you still got that anger bubbling up in you, girl. So I'd go back and do the anger one again. But what's so powerful about meditation is it helps you tap into your subconscious. And this particular program actually uses that to train you to subconsciously recognize when you're falling into the trap of what you're trying to remove from yourself, and then to address it and change it, and to visualize the new you that you want to be without that anger or whatever you're trying to change. Very, very powerful program. Now, I still do daily meditation, and it's a really big part of my life. I get up every morning and I do my restorative yoga, qigong, and my meditation. I move while I meditate. I don't always do Joe Dispenza's meditations. I've gone into other styles of meditations, but there's so many and they're all so wonderful. So just I really recommend that anybody who is going through any kind of medical or physical difficulty, that they do start meditating and that they do start moving. Restorative movement, energy movement, your restorative yoga, your qigong, your tai chi, it's all so powerful. And the movement, when we move our fascia, like emotions are stored in our body, in the muscles and in the fascia, and we need to move to release that. We can't get rigid, particularly our fascia. So the movement is so powerful to release stuff that you carry that you don't even realize. And it's got to be mindful movement, though. You've got to really be tuned into it. And it can be any kind of movement if you're mentally thinking about the movement and how it makes you feel physically and emotionally. And when you have mindful movement, and I'm using that as a generic term, not as a trademark of a certain kind of movement. Mindful movement, I'm meaning that you're thinking about how the movement is affecting your body physically, and does it affect you emotionally. And when we do mindful movement, it actually builds thousands of new neurons every minute in our brain. So combining a meditation process to help release negative emotions and habits, and then using restorative movement in a mindful manner to allow to tap into your body's wisdom and allow everything to release from the muscles and the inner holdings of the emotions. Very, very powerful for healing. And you just add on like tuning forks and sound vibrations. And yeah, like I recovered. It, took me a long time. And that's not to say that I don't have to like watch my diet and eat the right foods, but I am like strong and vibrant and recovered. And I wake up and I'm happy every day. And it doesn't matter if it's 20 below zero. It doesn't matter if it's storming outside. It doesn't matter if I live in Illinois. It's like, okay, we're going to move. We're going to move. I don't care. I'll be happy anyway.
Right. Well, but you spent a lot of time reprogramming your brain and reprogramming your thoughts. And that's what people don't understand. Meditation's a way to pause and reset. It's not complicated. You don't have to be sitting, like you see on TV or whatever. You don't have to sit. You can lay down if you need to. You can stand on your head if you want to. Mm-hmm. It's really a process of slowing your mind down.
Changing your brain waves.
Checking your brain waves, rewiring if you need to, and focusing on breathing and being present. It's not complicated, but I think it should be mandatory that everybody does it because it's so good for you.
Yeah, one of my favorite little mini meditations that I push on people who say they can't meditate is Thich Nhat Hanh. Like I saw that you do him. Like I saw something on your wall, and oh my gosh, I'm on my third reading of his book. Okay, I listened to the audio twice. And then I'm like, I got to get this. And I got it so I could actually have the printed version because sometimes I just hate going to my computer. And my husband stole it and took it on his business trip. But I was thrilled that he was interested in it, So and it's funny, okay, because it traveled to California with him and he had it in a restaurant and then the waitress saw it and she was like, oh my gosh, that book looks great. And she took a picture of it and she ordered it on Amazon. This is like in the hotel. So then the next day when he was there getting breakfast, she comes over to him. She says, my book's going to be delivered today.
He wrote a beautiful, I got connected, hooked on him as a abuse survivor. He wrote this beautiful poem, Call Me by My True Names. And it makes me cry, and I've like read it 1,000 times, but it's so beautiful.
I got to write that down.
Yeah. He talks about what it's like to be every aspect of everything. So, you know, to be the raped girl who drowns herself off the boat, and the rapist who knows no better.
Yeah, he talks about that in his book too. Every piece is every step.
Well, in Taiwan and the Philippines, places like, there are pirate boats, and a lot of people, a lot of the villagers will fish because that's how they eat, and some live on the boats, and the pirates will go and rape, pillage, and do it piratey kind of things. So that's part of his culture and his awareness and environment. Just like for you and I, we have different things, but the way the poem's written, it's just so beautiful and eloquent, and I was hooked. I think I've read it probably over 1,000 times, and I still cry. It's just so, I resonate so much with that inner conflict that we have as humans. You know, we're hypocrites, and we're walking dichotomies, and we have this duality that we try to hush and silence and play with or manipulate out of it. And the acceptance that you are a butterfly and you're also the cocoon, it's so beautiful. I can't wait to get your feedback, because I'm sure you'll cry too.
I'm sure I will, because I cried when I was reading his book already, The Pieces Every Step. It's like such a beautiful vision of the world. Like, can every person achieve this? And I actually put on on my Facebook page every week, I do like a little, like a little inspirational live post, just a quickie, few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes or something. And I just did one on the book, and with this meditation, with teaching that breathing meditation, because it's so simple, it's so basic, it's so simple, it's so beautiful. And then I was sharing it. I do webinars for the Happy for No Reason, and I was sharing a Qigong movement, because I do what I call a resilience reset in my webinar, because people are so burned out from Zoom and sitting around all day that when I get them at 7:30, they're like wilted. So I do a little movement, and mindful movement and meditation as a resilience reset. And I did a little bit of Qigong, and the one person, and I talked about the calm and peace. And then she says, well, you got to do that when you move. You just think, calm, smile. And to combine, it's so beautiful.
And we have had a very confusing, very stressed, very powerful time right now with what's going on in the world, what's going on in our country, what's going on with our people. Communities seem to be more divided than ever. And I think we need more of the breathing, and more of the stretching, and more of these conversations, because what works for one person may not work for another one. It's not a cookie cutter kind of situation, but breathing and stretching, no matter who you are, huge healing right there.
Well, our bodies are designed to breathe, and our bodies are designed to move. We have to do those things to maintain a healthy lifestyle, whether we like it or not. And everybody's like, yeah, well, we're breathing, we don't need to think about it. But they don't realize that they don't really breathe and oxygenate as much as they can. And using it as a meditation is like a gift. It's so calming. Physically, it physiologically, it's not just settling the mind, it physiologically settles the body. And I've actually discovered other ways to physiologically settle my neurological system, because I was overridden with anxiety. And I do have a drumming background, and not like drumming on a kit, like with a band, but hand drums. And I used to always use them for recreational purposes, because I used to facilitate drum circles. But now I use the drums for healing purposes. And like, rhythm entrains us. Like, you probably know, because you're into sound healing. So like when you go to the mall and they put on fast music, you just naturally start walking in rhythm with the music, because music, the rhythm, entrains our bodies. So when you're suffering with like anxiety and you get like really wired, like, because I have EMF toxicity sensitivity, and so I get really affected neurologically when like the frontal storms and electrical storms and stuff blow in. And I've discovered that when my body gets really wired neurologically and stressed out and just sort of like jittery, that if I start drumming like that rhythm on the drum and then slowly start slowing it down, intentionally slowing it down, the neurological system unwinds.
Well, you got to remember, and for those of you who don't remember, let me remind you. When we're in our little fetal position in our mommy's belly, that's all rhythm. It's all the heart. It's all the blood flow. It's all the water moving, and the energy is there. So you spend 10 months, yes, 10, not 9. Whoever told you 9, they're lying to you. Do the math. Anyway, it's all rhythm. And so it's part of our DNA. It's what we're supposed to be doing, is in rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah. So using the drums and using rhythm has been a big part of my
God,
healing.
yeah. I could see that. Dance is like that too.
Drums have been used for healing for like ever, you know, like in a shamanic way. It's very, very powerful. Another thing I found to be very soothing for my neurological system is activating proprioception.
That one I haven't heard.
Now, you know, for people who may not know what proprioception is, it's like our nerve endings that feel what's going on and then give signals to our brain on what we should do. So I was a horse trainer, and I had a lot of proprioceptive activity in my life that used to keep me going really steady and strong. Like when the horses leave ruts in the mud and then they freeze and you have to walk over those ruts. Well, your proprioception, your nerves in your feet, give your brain the information on how to handle it with your ankles and stuff so you don't fall over. And when I became ill and in a wheelchair and I couldn't move around, there was no proprioception happening. And I really needed that. Now you're going to laugh when I say this.
Probably not. I've heard a lot.
Well, have you heard about how good hula hooping is for the digestive system and the nerves in your gut?
No, it's just really good for the body. I didn't know about the gut. That makes sense though.
Totally. And it's activating proprioception. And I used to go to the forest preserve and hike and like climb on the logs and balance on them. And I can't tell you, I felt like I'd have a therapy session just from going out and balancing on the logs. Using that proprioception, my body would just like relieve, like the nervous tension in my body would just drain away.
I think that's why I love hiking so much. When I go up north, I have to hike as much as I can because I get high. It's like,
well, nature immersion is a whole nother version of getting high. Yeah, it is. It's therapeutic to be in nature. And
the climbing and the because down here it's flat.
Flat, yeah. Well, your sand will give you proprioception if you're walking in sand, and the different surfaces of sand, like when it's hard from the water or when it's soft. So that
is also good for your fascia. So that's a win-win.
It is. So yeah, my healing journey took me several years. And what's really interesting is the whole happiness thing is people think that they can, you know, that they're going to be happier when they get their new job or they get their new relationship, or they're always thinking when, if, when this, when that, but we have to do it now and we have to stop waiting. You know, in the Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence in 1776 wrote that all men have a right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Pursue. Now, today, the word pursue people think about chasing after something, pursuing something,
Right.
like a dog would chase after a stick that you throw, and then after it fetches it, it wags its tail and it's happy. But in 1776, the word pursue actually had sort of a different meaning, and it really meant to make it a daily habit, to make it a routine part of your day. That's what pursuit meant. So Thomas Jefferson was talking about we all have the right to pursue happiness. And that's what I do, is we have to practice it. We have to work on it every day. It's not like it's something that you can go buy or that something's going to happen. All that's circumstantial. It's not true happiness. Winning the lottery, it's circumstantial. A year later, after you've spent your money, you're going to go back to the same place you were before. We have to make internal changes ourselves, and that is a daily practice, because there's always things that want to pull us out. So every day we have to say, no, today is going to be the best day of my life. So when I get out of bed and I stub my toe, I'm going to thank you, God, that I didn't break my toe. And I'm going to move forward with joy, instead of stubbing my toe and thinking, darn it, it's going to be one of those days, because we create it.
It's true. And I think we're running out of time, but I think that people don't realize your moments can be crappy, but the whole day doesn't have to be. So you stub your toe. I am notorious for hitting my elbow on the corner. I have this wall that goes around my living room, and I do it every time. But it's the moment, and I have to learn to slow down, because that's all that's reminding me is I'm going too fast, which is why I keep hitting the corner of the wall, and it's my fault. It's not the wall's fault. It's mine for not being slow. And, and that's being present and mindful and thinking and breathing, and we're all human. We all do it. But that is really hugely key to realize that it's just a moment. It's not the entire day.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, everything is a result of our response to the events. It's our response. We can choose to be a victim, or we can choose to respond like a victor.
And I think that there are times in your story, our story, human story, where being a victim is appropriate. And it's realizing that you don't have to stay there. It's a moment versus a lifetime.
Oh, that's perfectly said. Oh my gosh, beautiful.
Yeah. And so, experiencing those emotions, I think, is normal, and I think it's healthy, but again,
right.
It's the length of time.
Yeah, there are people who definitely experience a lot of victimization, and they need to feel it and they need to acknowledge it, but then they need to move on. And like you say, take it as a moment and not as a lifetime.
Yeah, because life's cool, man. It's fun.
It is.
I love it. And I have to also say that I love the fact that touch therapy helped you. When I was in a very traumatic relationship, I snuck out and I did a hybrid therapy. It was talk therapy for the first 20 minutes, and then the rest was yoga. Which was, it was perfect balance, because you're not stuck in that story and you're moving that story away from your body and your parts. And
so good therapist. The therapist realized that movement was necessary. That's really powerful.
Yeah. So I highly recommend that kind of therapy for everybody, not just talk therapy, because you know what? It's not always beneficial, is it?
No, actually, sometimes it made me worse.
Yeah. Because you're stuck in the story.
Yeah. And you got to rehash it, and then rehash it this way, and then rehash it this way. And it's like, no.
Well, I'm grateful that you've survived your dark storm and that you're doing wonderful things with life. And what is the program that you teach? What is it called again?
I'm actually running a free series right now. So you're lucky you can hop in on that. It's called Choose to Be Happy. And it's based on the Happy for No Reason program by Marcy Shimoff. And it's on the second Tuesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. So my next one is coming up on July 13th. I believe for April, I'm taking a vacation month. I'm traveling by car out west. I got to go see my mama in Las Cruces.
Awesome.
And
This will air in January. So
this will air. Will I get notification
yes.
of when it airs?
Yep. I'm going to send all of that to you, but just so that you have perspective. But I'm sure you'll be doing wonderful and fun things by then too.
Yeah, well, by then I'll be doing the I'm certain I'll still be doing and offering Happy for No Reason programs, but I don't always offer them for free.
Perfect.
I do that once in a while. So,
Yeah.
so
but I'm
people
sure you
can
have
look
like a
for that.
newsletter or something that people can sign up for.
Yeah, and actually, if you go to my website, which is juliforjoy.com, and it's JULI without an E, and then it's the word for, not the number, FOR, and then joy, JOY. JuliForJoy.com is my website that you can actually sign up for a free Happy for No Reason workbook that actually lists the 21 exercises and practices. And it also has a happiness set point questionnaire that is wonderful to take because it gives you an idea of what areas in your life you might want to work on to increase your happiness level. And then you can take it later on and see if you got there, like after the program. It's sort of fun. And they also have a mood questionnaire in there developed by a psychologist nutritionist that helps you evaluate if you are low on like serotonin or GABA or like those, so that you can get supplementation to help yourself physically with that. So you can get that workbook for free on my website. And then of course you can look for any events that are coming up on the website also. And you can also check my Facebook page, which is Juli for Joy, and listen to my weekly inspirational tidbits that I offer. And I also announce my events on the Facebook page.
Yay. Thank you, Miss Juli for Joy. I'm grateful for you.
And I contribute to this Collective Wisdom magazine as an author, which is a beautiful publication about wellness in a natural way. And I'm also in a project right now submitting a chapter for Dare to Live Your Purpose book.
I love it. I love it. Congratulations to you and all your success. Keep bringing joy to the world. We need more people.
That's my mission. That's my mission.
And you know what it's like to be on the other side. And I'm sure you're just rocking it out right now, beaming and loving everything that's available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
And it's great to connect with you and your community. And you stand for what I stand for. I love it.
Absolutely. We need many more of us. So recruit.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
All right, Miss Joy.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Bye, honey.
Bye-bye.
You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty. I'm Rusty, and I might actually air this a little bit earlier than intended just because I think the holidays are really tough for everybody, and this interview might be inspiration to grab that new year by the lapels and call it baby. Gonna make it good, right? Why not? You live once. You don't know how long you have to go and surf on this molten lava rock as the bag of water that you really are. So might as well enjoy it. Why resist? I don't know. I've resisted most of my life. Now I'm just kind of cruising back and enjoying. And it's so exciting. I can't even tell you. But I can tell you that I do love you. You are beautiful. You mean the world to me. And thank you for hitting that bell. And thank you for subscribing. And thank you for all your support. You love your messages, your cards, all the things that you guys do to keep this show going. As you know, I don't get paid for this show. I do this out of the pure love for you and understanding that there are many people out there that are beautiful, and you get to bear witness to that, and you get to learn, and you get to grow. And that's what it's about. So happy holidays, and I'll see you next year.